Thank you. You know, taking a new step, uttering a new word, is what people fear the most. Dostoevsky said that statement. And when you talk about a word like change, change is a word that we've come to grow up to not understand and be afraid of. As a child, you're running around in the yard, you're playing, you're dirty, you're with your friends. Your mother hollers, "Hey Sam, it's time to come and eat supper." You think, man, I really don't want to go in because I know she's going to make me change clothes, she's going to make me clean up, and then I'm not going to get to come back out. So you kind of despise that word at that point. You go in, sure enough, mom says, "Go clean up. You're not sitting at my table while you're wearing those dirty clothes or you're filthy." So you go and you change clothes. You clean up, you eat dinner. You know that the rest of the day is going to be spent inside. When you think about the word change, for me, it was a difficult word that I didn't embrace. I really didn't embrace that word. Me, like others, I was afraid of that word. I didn't like change. If something's not broke, don't fix it. It's kind of the philosophy people have. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. And I lived by that motto for a long time. When I came to work here, and the lady came into contact with me, Christine Money, and she brought something with her when she came here, and it was change. Of course, me, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. I was used to working where you had to come to work every day, you were afraid, or you got into contact and physical altercations with individuals. That was the style you were used to. To me, it wasn't broke, didn't need fixed. But what I didn't realize is people would get out, they would come back. They would get out, they would come back. Then I started looking at some of the programs and some of the changes that she made, bringing in Kairos Ministries, some of the other programs she offered. She was offering inmates hope that someday when they did get out, they could be successful. And I looked back and I started looking at statistics. I noticed the number of physical assaults reduced. I noticed that inmates' attitudes changed. I noticed that some staff's opinions and attitudes changed. So I started looking at myself and I said, well, you know what? I need to change. I'm the one that's broke. I need to change. Because if you put it in real terms, what does the judge tell an offender whenever he gives him his sentence? I sentence you to 10 years. It's not the end of it there. What he's telling him is, you need to change. You need to change the way you think. You need to change the way you act. You need to change the way you respond to things, the way you respond to people. That's what you need to change. So how can I, as an employee at Marion Correctional Institution, expect others to change if I myself wasn't willing to change? You lead by example. I also believe in that motto. So I started to looking at different things, how I could change myself. And one of the things that I looked at is give them opportunities to grow. People will make mistakes. For me, I fought Ms. Money for about 2 years on the changes that she wanted to do. And to me, it really was a losing battle. I just didn't see that. I'm about winning. But for me, it was really a losing battle because I was slowly starting to change myself. Even though I resented some of the things that I felt like I resented some of the things she did, that was my way out of fear. You know, I read a book once and then it says a hurt dog will even bite the ones they love. And that's kind of, you know, I love Ms. Money and that's kind of what I was doing. That was my way of biting her, is to stand there in front of my peers, in front of my subordinates and saying, this ain't gonna work. It's not gonna work. It's not gonna work. And by my actions, by saying it's not gonna work. So when I finally embraced that change myself and said, change is good. Change is about doing things the right way. Change is about improving things. A lot of these guys that reside here that are in the blue or in the khakis, when that judge told them they needed to change, their first 3 years, if they got a lengthy sentence, their first 3 or 4 years, they're not willing to change. They don't want to change. They were me. They didn't want to change. So what did they do? They came in, they became disruptive. They continued the ways that they had. They didn't want to follow the rules. They didn't want to obey the rules. They were mad at the system. They weren't mad at themselves. They were mad at the system. My court-appointed attorney didn't represent me right. And all that anger and frustration, they vented out on me and everybody else they came in contact with because they didn't want to change. And when I looked at it in that aspect, I said, well, that's me. That's me. I mean, that was me. I didn't want to change. So what do I need to do to change? So again, I started looking at some of the programs and some of the ideas that was being generated. And some of the offenders' ideas were coming up. And I started looking at them differently. And I said, change can be good. Change is about making improvements, doing the right things, as I said earlier. Technology. I love technology. I think technology is great. But if I wasn't willing to change and move with technology, then I'd still be back in the olden ages. I'd still be doing teletype, teleprompts, and stuff like that. So for me, change is positive. When we ask people to change, we ask them to do a lot of things in their lives. When I ask the offenders here to obey the rules, sometimes that in itself is a change for them because they're not used to someone telling them what to do. I'm asking them to be open-minded. I'm asking them to change. And for me to be able to change, lead by example, I think it helps them sometimes to change. My challenge to everybody today is when you think about this, when you talk about change, we can talk about change in your pocket. You can talk about a lot of changes. Think about the homeless guy who's sitting there and he comes up to you on the street and he says, "Excuse me, sir, do you have any change?" And when you think about that, don't think about it as change in your pocket. Do you have any change? Because that dollar, that $2 that you give someone, that may be that difference that makes a change in their life. That may be the opportunity for them to do something. Now, mind you, there are those out there that will take that money and do other things with it that shouldn't be done. I have a wonderful wife. She works with MRDD. And through her, she has taught me a lot of change. She has taught me that individuals with disabilities, we don't understand them. Those individuals have a lot of change in their life. They have a lot of change. For me to not know and to be afraid of them is one thing. But for her to listen to some of the stories she talks about, that so-and-so, this gentleman or this lady hit me, this gentleman broke my jaw, broke my arm. I wasn't mad at them because that was their style. So I started to learn I needed to think about things in that same aspect. For me, I needed to change the way I thought, the way I dealt with individuals. Not to be the hard, brazen guy that I've always been. I've got almost 26 years in this business. And for those of you that don't know me, my name is Sam Grisham. I'm the Major, the Chief of Security at Marion Correctional Institution. I'm responsible for the safety and the security of this operation of this institution and all of you, all the offenders, and all the families that come here. For me to accept that responsibility requires a lot of change in me. And I want to thank you for your time.